in the majority opinion, and I'll pose this to you, John, in the majority opinion, the justices wrote that they're not commenting on the effectiveness of the policy, right? But they do say that the president has broad constitutional powers to enact something like this. So in your mind, though, John, is this a victory for the president or the U.S. Supreme Court?
Well, it's a victory for both the president and the Supreme Court and the Constitution and the American people. So it's like the superfecta of decisions. The Supreme Court, what they did today is they didn't legislate from the bench or make an opinion on policy the way John Roberts did under Obamacare. What they basically said is, look, the president has this authority vested in the Constitution, and he's got the right now to make these types of decisions. I happen to think it was the right one. It's the victory for the American people because ultimately we're going to be safer.
I mean, it took three tries. I mean, are we safer because of this travel ban? Are we?
I think so, because the purpose of the travel ban is to be able to be sure that the people that are coming into the country from these 8 countries that have a history of exporting terrorism, that they're properly vetted and they're extreme vetted before they come in. And look, Carol, it just takes one. That's all it takes.
Extreme vetted.
One person comes in and blows up a bunch of people, or does what we saw in or in the other areas in California. It just takes one to kill a lot of people in the United States. So I think it is a victory for all Americans.
Okay, so is it, Matt? I mean, does it keep America safer because people coming into this country are vetted? And they are extreme vetted. It's not like we say, oh, come on through, you're fine. We don't do that.
Right. No, I think it's hard to say, and it's really impossible to, it's actually impossible to say, but I think it's, you know, it is legitimate to say, look, there are some, if you're coming here from Syria or Yemen, why? You know, and I think there obviously should be waivers for people, but
vet those people coming in from Syria and Yemen. I mean,
I think it's legitimate to say we don't want people coming here from North Korea, because that is a hostile regime, and you know. Now, actually, I would say it's interesting now that Donald Trump is making friends with North Korea. Maybe that's gonna change. I don't think this is beyond the pale. It's probably not the move that I would have made. I think the rollout of it was very unfortunate, maybe actually intentional, but it was horrific. The rollout of it.
I'm going to interrupt you just for a second, Matt, because I'm seeing live pictures from outside of the Supreme Court. Can we listen in for just 1 second?
Of 3 separate but equal branches of government to act as a check balance. The American people have a responsibility today to get up, to get out, to rally together, to vote out this Republican Congress and bring in a new Congress. We don't need the same kinds of politicians who come to our mosques, come to our churches, come to our temples and synagogues, come to our coffee houses, and come to the club and make promises to you and me to fight against Islamophobia, to fight against homophobia, to fight against xenophobia. And when we vote them into office, they vote against your and my interests. Enough is enough. I'm calling on all of us who are disappointed.
Okay, so John, I will, obviously this man does not like the ruling that the U.S. Supreme Court made upholding this travel ban. He's saying that it's just making America more isolationist, more, you know, more against having people who don't look a certain way come into this country. John, respond.
You know, first of all, he's got a right to protest. We have a First Amendment. I respect that, and he can say whatever he pleases. But we have a constitutional system in the United States, and it served us very well, Carol and Matt, for a very long time, and it still is. This president did not do this.
Why does he feel that way? If this is about keeping the country safe, why does this man feel this way?
Which man? The man speaking or the president?
The man speaking.
Well, I mean, look, there's a view in this country that you just want to let everybody in at all times. no borders in the United States, open borders, let everybody in, let everybody come in that wants to come in. I mean, there's a view. Obviously, it's playing out right now. And, you know, the Democrats even put a legislation in the other day to ban ICE. They want to get rid of ICE. So anybody that comes in the country illegally can't even be apprehended. They don't want anybody apprehended. You know, that's one view. That is not the majority view in the United States. He's got a right to say what he wants, Carol, but this travel ban was never aimed at any particular race of people or anything else. It was aimed at keeping us safe.
And Carol, we have terrorists. The travel ban was always meant to target Muslims coming into this country. And they had to tweak it. That's why it took 3 times to be upheld constitutionally by the Supreme Court.
Carol, he would have banned all Muslims and all Muslim countries. He picked the 8 countries that have the highest propensity of fomenting terror. That's what he did. He didn't pick everybody. So that's where the thing, I think, when the Supreme Court looked at this, they didn't look at it as a ban on a people or a race or a religion. They looked at it, like Obama did, on a ban of 8 countries that we don't really know what is going on in there, that don't have stable governments, that can't properly vet their people, and we run the risk of getting shot or some of the incidents that have
So, Matt, I mean, what John is saying is, like, partially true, right? Because...
Well, I think it's very clear...
It's all true.
Matt.
That if you look at Donald Trump's rhetoric in the past, it's very clear that he wanted a Muslim ban. He talked about a Muslim ban, and the question is, does that intent, should that poison the well? This is the 3rd iteration of this. Now it's a travel ban, and I believe that the Supreme Court correctly judged it on its merits. They didn't look back at what Donald Trump said. They looked at what does this travel ban literally say and do. And on those merits, the president does have the authority to do what he did, and I think the Supreme Court was
because he added in North Korea and Venezuela, some countries who are not majority Muslim. The Supreme Court was able to uphold it under our Constitution. And you can see what they're saying. This proclamation is squarely within the scope of presidential authority. The Supreme Court ruled that the president has this power, but it has to be implemented in a way that doesn't target any one religion. So with that, I have to end it. Matt Lewis and well, you're hearing everybody protest. You're hearing everybody protest.
Well, people protest everything. My question to the American people is, in the short term here, what is the downside? If we can save lives, it's worth it. And these are countries without stable governments. You don't know what is going on there. They can't even vet or follow their own terrorism in these countries. I don't see the downside. Only upside.
I have to agree with you about the governments of those countries. That is for sure. Matt Lewis and John Fredericks, always a pleasure. I'll be right back.